Beautiful morning, and you're welcome to our breakfast TV show this morning. Good morning, Anambra. All right, we are kickstarting the show this morning with the stories that are trending on ABS website and other national dailies. And with me in the studio this morning is Ajuluchukwu Okabwe as a co-presenter.
Good morning, dear Anambra. Good morning, Chidima. You're looking astonishing this morning. I don't know what's the reason for this occasion, but anyway, let's just get down to the business of the day.
All right, my name is Chidima Oranwa. Thank you so much for being part of the show this morning. Just before we go into the press review, we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, you'll meet our guests who are seated right here in the studio. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the press review this morning, and our guests are Ejike Awata. Ejike Awata is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Ejike. Glad to have you on the show.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
We also have with us Arinze Anebunam. He is also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Arinze.
Very good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
All right, quickly, let's start the show this morning with the stories that are trending on ABS website. Okay? Traditional ruler of Obosi, Iweka, urges students to promote Igbo language as cultural identity. Anambra State Joint Petroleum Enforcement Team visits more petrol stations. Ocha Brigade urges traders to keep within approved trading areas and maintain clean environment. Anambra State Assembly renews the tenure of Local Government Transition Committee chairman and members. Okay, these are what we have on our website this morning. We are starting with you, Ejike. Let's start with the second story there. Anambra State Joint Petroleum Enforcement Team visiting more petrol stations in the state or within the state.
It's something that I have looked forward to long before now. And given that we don't have a unified price for petroleum products in Anambra, PMS especially. Why some persons sell at 220 per litre pump price, some persons are selling at 250, some are selling at 270. One would have expected for the price to have reduced, say, come down to about 170 or 190. Or even 200. I don't think, aside the major marketers, I don't think there are other petrol stations that sell at 200. So I think well, no time is late because it all falls back to those who make use of these products, especially commuters who go to work and then come back. That's it's one way through which drivers get extra money from them because they have to, drivers pay higher for these products and then they pass the bill to the commuters. So I think it's a good one, and I hope at the end of the day something drastic will be done. It's not just about going around, let there be enforcement so that the prices of these petroleum products will drastically be reduced.
Apart from the price, do you think that this will also curb the sale of adulterated products in some of these filling stations?
It's part of their duty as well. They are meant to go and check the quality of the product and also check the meters, dispensing meters, and see if they are accurate. So these are things that one would expect them to do. Of course, there are filling stations who sell adulterated products. Such stations should be called out so that people will avoid them, because if you go and patronize them, you damage your engine and nobody gives you any compensation for that.
Sure.
So they should be called out so that people will notice. For now, this filling station is not approved to sell fuel for so and so reason. So expect them to do that.
All right, thank you so much for that. Arinze, let's also look at the renewal of tenure of Local Government Transition Committee chairman by the State House of Assembly and also members.
In respect to that, one of the things I would gladly state here is for the administration of the governor, I celebrate him. One thing I've observed is that the governor has able and qualified men in his team. So if those persons, even at the local government level, their tenures are being renewed, it's laudable because they, up until now, they've been doing pretty well by my evaluation, and I'm glad that their tenure is being renewed. And we also expect that they will also align with the agenda of the mantra of the governor and execute his mandate.
All right, thank you so much. Let's quickly go over to the first paper under review this morning.
And the first paper for review this morning is the Daily Sun. And the banner headline there is still talking about the stranded students. Returning students recount ordeal in Sudan and Egypt. The writer there says, "We thought we'll die," they declare. FG promises 100,000 naira each to evacuees. And then we also have the Kingsmen pray for Ekweremadu. Wife beg UK government for mercy. Nigeria's unity non-negotiable. That's coming from the president-elect. Vows to make corruption in judiciary unattractive. And we also see the troops kill 30 terrorists, apprehend 48 in North Central. That's North Central and Northwest. And we have the polls, about the polls. President inauguration before tribunal's judgment makes no sense. That's coming from Onyeko, Onaikon. 1.6 million students to write 2023 WASSCE in 20,851 schools. You'll find that story in page 27, I beg your pardon, of the Daily Sun. NAFDAC bans promotion, sales of breast milk substitute in health facilities. And we also have Arewa youths accuse NLC president of plotting against Andover. And last but not the least, banking sector credits to private rises to 43 trillion naira in 3 months. That's coming from the CB and the Apex Bank in the country. And Arinze, what do you have to say about the president-elect telling us that he would make corruption in the judiciary unattractive, saying that Nigeria's unity is non-negotiable?
The truth to that statement is that it's a welcomed one. But however, I would like to submit that it's not about promises. Preceding your supposed action in respect to improving on the judiciary's integrity and all of that, what happened? What has happened? So before we talk about the future, let's talk about the now. If the president-elect has assured us through promise of this, let's expect that things are done in the right way. Let's expect that the process that brings in certain governmental experiences happens the right way. So I celebrate him for that, but before then, let's get it right from the scratch. That's how I would want to keep it.
So in your own opinion, it's not all about talking, it's all about doing.
Action, yes.
But I think before he begins to do it, Chidima, don't you think he needs to assume the power, the office, before he can begin to do? Well, let's get to hear what AGK has to say on the president inauguration before tribunal judgment makes. This is coming from Onaikon, who is a cardinal, you understand? Yeah. He's saying that the president inauguration before the tribunal's judgment makes no sense. What's your take on that, AGK?
He's a citizen of Nigeria, and he has every right to air his opinion. Unfortunately, his opinion may not count or will not count as far as federal government is concerned, as far as the judiciary is concerned. Maybe they would have even given some amount of attention to him if he were a judiciary officer, maybe a lawyer or a senior advocate of Nigeria. But being a clergy, so many things will be attached to his statements. People will look at it from different angles. Political parties will look at it from different angles. Religious leaders will look at it from different angles. tribal bigot to look at it from different angles, but he just aired his opinion. So, of course, everybody has the right to air their opinion. So it behoves on other persons to sit back and look at the statement he has made and see if it holds water at all. One would have expected, of course, people even clamored for judgment to be given before May 29th. And who knows, that might happen. Today is just 5th of May, so we have some weeks before the inauguration. Let's see what will happen.
Okay, so keeping our fingers crossed. All right, let's go over to the next paper. That's the National Star newspaper this morning. And the big story there is still about the what Onaikon said, and now with Amadi kicking against Tinubu's inauguration on May 29th. Those that manipulated 2023 election results know themselves, Onaikon. It is not automatic to swear Tinubu in on May 29th. Amadi, you are an embarrassment to Body of Christ, Keyamo Blast Cardinal. Election tribunal, judiciary must remain impartial, independent, says Gowon. Sudan, we need 4 aircraft to bring back Nigerians, coming from the federal government. UTME student candidate breaks records, scores 99 marks in mathematics, 337 in total. Flush out dead persons, fictitious names from registered voters list, reps tell INEC. APC ratifies suspension of Onyama, Ojekalo, Namani, Oga, Okechukwu, 23 orders. Reps Okeza Buhari's 22.7 trillion naira ways and means loan request. Okay, these are the stories on the front page of the National Star newspaper this morning. Which would you want to look into or talk about this morning, Arinze?
The headlines are quite catchy, but then I would like to lay, should I call it, credence to the Onaikon and Amadi kicking against Tinubu's inauguration. You know, I read what a senior advocate of Nigeria said in respect to this inauguration, that the inauguration shouldn't come before the judgment of the tribunal. And you begin to, people like us who are laymen to the legal system, you begin to wonder, why does it look like there are divergent views, interpretation of the law, when it seemingly favors parties and disfavors other parties? People begin to interpret the law in different ways, possibly to suit their interests. You know, before now, when the agitation was on for the 25% win in Abuja and the rest of the states, you saw advocates, senior advocates, you saw lawyers begin to argue that this is what it meant, and their views became contrary. So my take on this is the fact that let the right thing be done.
Even in that aspect, I've heard, just like you said in a layman's term, you understand, I've heard a lawyer, you understand, come out to break it down in a layman's term by saying that you don't go building a mansion on a land that is in dispute in court.
You see?
You need to wait until the court decides.
So the dispute is resolved.
Exactly, the dispute is resolved, you understand, before you can go about possessing and then building on said land. So I think everything is there in plain terms for the layman to really understand.
Right, let's go to you, GK. Let's look at what is happening in Sudan, stranded Nigerians there. Now, federal government is telling us Nigerians that they need 4 aircrafts to bring back Nigerians that are stranded in Sudan. I mean, what do you make out of that statement?
Are they telling us to provide the aircraft?
Probably.
I don't understand.
Who could contribute?
Is that what they're asking us to do? They should go ahead and do what they are supposed to do. Did America tell Americans, or American government tell Americans that they needed so and so number of aircraft to elite their citizens? Did Britain do this? And why must we make fun of everything? I don't know the kind of people who we have at the corridors of power. One would have expected for them to go and evacuate this people, and then life will continue. Why do you have to tell us you need 4 aircraft? So what do we do now? Allen Onyema donated his aircraft. Are they looking forward to other persons to also donate their what happens to the money they earmarked for the evacuation? They projected for about 30 or 40 buses to evacuate them. So now they're talking about aircraft. What exactly is happening? So we keep hearing, of course, this is Nigerian government, and nothing comes as a shocker to us anymore. But the important thing is for them to do the needful. Go and rescue your citizens in Sudan, just like every other government around the world have done. Don't come and tell us you need so and so. We don't care if you need 10. The important thing is for you to go there and get them out.
Okay. It's important to let you know that the number displayed in front of your television set is for you to call in and contribute this morning. You can just pick one of the headlines and speak on it.
Before we go, I want to make honorable mention to the UTME candidates that scored 99% in mathematics and 337 overall. I think that person should be making the headlines on every daily as in paper, because I don't understand how possible it is for somebody to score 99%.
We don't celebrate people like that.
As a matter of fact, we have a lot of problems in our country, so that one shouldn't be making headlines if you ask some people.
Yeah, well, even amidst all the things that we have,
it's one cheery news.
Yes, exactly.
And my problem with that is that people of that age in Nigeria are not granted admission. He's only 15, I understand. They are not granted admission in tertiary institutions. It doesn't happen in other climes. These are people who, if you give them the needed support before 14, they are professors or whatever they want to be. But we won't be granted admission until he's about 18. So things need to change. That's why we keep saying that the education we have in Nigeria is outdated. Why would you deny? So, okay, what would he be doing from that period of time before he gets to 18? It's a problem.
But truth be told, I had to query a student I met in his school, like, how old are you? And when I heard his age, I was like, wow. I must tell you emphatically, without mentioning names, there is a compromise to that age barrier now. Most schools give admission at that age. And why would you even deny?
You mean private schools or public schools?
Both.
Okay.
But why would you even deny a child admission? Logically, and I'm not talking constitutionally. If the child is allowed at that age to write UTME exams and all of that, and he or she qualifies, why not allow the child step further? So if there is a barrier, age barrier, on getting admitted into higher institutions, then there should be a concern about at what age a child should write both WAEC and JAMB for he or she to proceed further. So
well, that's a discuss for another day. Well, let's go to the next paper that we have this morning for review, which is the Punch. And the banner headline there is saying, again, military wants saboteurs, Gowon cancels petitioner, May 29, handover. And the writer there is saying, threats to new president's inauguration will be promptly dealt with, says Defense Headquarters. Kiyamo knocks Onyeko for saying Tinubu shouldn't be sworn in before tribunal verdict. And we have on the picture there the Nigerian military personnel being flanked by 2 ladies with their babies. Troops kill 40 insurgents, rescue 2 Chibok girls. 70% of Southwest private school teachers unqualified. That's coming from TRCN. 25-year-old dredging frame worker drowns in Lagos River. And still on Sudan, second batch of stranded Nigerians arrives today. And we have the Federal Roads FGP states 859.7 billion in 8 years. That's coming from Fashola. And government agencies, military, owe electricity firms. That's coming from the Senate. And reps rise Buhari's extra budgetary spending to 23.7 trillion naira. Wow. Still surprising to see that Chibok girls are still being rescued 9 years after. I really don't understand this. But then, Ejike, what do you have to say about this?
Well, as regards the rescue, we give thanks to God that some of them were rescued.
And they are still alive.
They are still alive, even though they are having babies with them. But the question is, these are promises that were made before the outgoing government came into power. These are some of the promises on which the road into government rescuing of Chibok girls, but this is where we are today. Now, those they have babies with them, obviously from their doctors, and it has damaged the psyche of these girls, very young girls. It has damaged their psyche, and some of them would have nothing to do with education again because they were kidnapped from the school. So it's sad, but in Norway we thank God they are alive, and we hope that going further, more of them will also be rescued, and there will be a permanent end to this problem of kidnapping, especially kidnapping students in the north. Well, let's have a breather for some time.
AGK, I mean Arinze, sorry. Government agencies, military or electricity firms, that's coming from the Senate. I don't understand why the military, most especially, would like to.
It's not a shocker as far as I'm concerned. As much as it's a bad story to tell, but we've seen. I'm not in the league of those who are seemingly pessimistic about Nigerian government becoming better. No, but when like Debo would say, when an evil becomes a year or something, when it becomes habitual, like EGK said, you just see things you are like, wow. How would government agencies, government parastatals, government arms like the military, what are they owing electricity bills for? Because there are budgets for this. So where does the money go to? How come? It's just a question to ask the relevant authorities.
I remember a scenario whereby Nigeria was hosting a tournament, a football tournament. You understand? And there was power outage in one of the stadiums. And then when they were asked, they said, well, we chose now to ask for the money. You understand? The stadium is owing NEPA. And we didn't, and there was no even generator on ground to even power the whole stuff. I don't know.
Well, I think there is a way out. This time that we have a prepaid meter, if you don't buy your unit, there is no light for you. Maybe they've not installed that kind of meter.
But that is not accessible to everybody at the moment.
Maybe they should try as much as possible to install this kind of meters.
That's one way of checking.
Yes, because those places are owing them.
So these government agencies, give them prepaid meter.
Exactly.
But in a military, Nigerian military, if there's this mentality they have, they believe they live above every other person. Imagine going to the barracks and
you want to cut
their lives. You know, the mentality we have, Nigerian military has, you don't come near them.
All right, just before we go, there is this story that, that caught my attention in the front page of the Punch newspaper. 70% of Southwest private school teachers unqualified. If a teacher is unqualified, what kind of knowledge is it going to pass down to the pupils or the students is handling? What does that say of our education sector in Nigeria? Very bad.
And it beats my imagination that we believe that Southwesterners are keen to education. They study more. So how do we justify this? 70%, so you just 30. And it's quite disheartening. Unfortunately, we have a system. We have a ministry that is in charge of this, both at the state and federal level. How active are they? How efficient are they? Both the commissioner, the minister, and whoever the employees. Because there should be a way of constantly checkmating this thing to the minute details. People should investigate these things. That's why, to allow us to celebrate our governor, we should be concerned. I was telling somebody, we are young, for instance, people do say education is a scam. I said it's a lie. I was telling somebody a few days ago, a business done by an educated person, same business done by an illiterate, you will see difference. So education is very important, both in the revamping of the mind. The system should be concerned about it.
Sure.
But this capture, they say private schools, you understand?
Of course, but private schools, they are not left behind that. You're supposed to go.
We're expecting that the private schools should even do better than the government schools.
That's bad. That's not even
That's a funny thing.
They are more concerned about their gains.
That's the motive now.
It's a business.
What's their motive of going into establishing schools?
It's just for them to make money. It's like a business to them, not to pass down knowledge to the students. All right, let's quickly see what we have on the front page of the Daily Independent this morning. How I will tackle corruption in the judiciary by Tinubu explains why he said, I owe Wike nothing. Okay, and then cost of electricity consumption in Nigeria, cheapest in the world. Federal government, Wike once against making Nigeria ungovernable for Tinubu. Imo, passengers stranded at airport over NLC strike. Federal government gives 200,000 naira each to 376 Nigerians evacuated from Sudan. Wow. It's wrong to swear in Tinubu governors with cases in court on Ayeka. And then military again warns politician against Cortland May 29 inauguration. Gunmen on rampage in Anambra kill 3 policemen. Group tax presidential election petitions tribunal as hearing begins. Okay, let's also see what we have in the front page of This Day. This Day newspaper is next. Tinubu vows to make corruption unattractive, says unity of country not negotiable. There can only be one president at a time. I cannot commit to expenditures. Pledges to fulfill all political promises. And then we can still see, in alliance with Jibrin, Akpabio gets momentum over 65 senators sign and support. Oshimole waits in the wings, relies on constitution. Carlos still in the race, insists the Southeast deserves it. Sudan, about 200 Nigerians stranded on road to Egypt. We still have some people stranded en route to Egypt from Sudan. Wow. Okay, these are the stories we have on the front pages of Daily Independent and This Day newspaper. EGK.
I'd like to talk about though we've talked about it before, but the stranded Nigerians. When you hear stories of people who travel from Nigeria because they want to go to Europe by road and through the sea, their experiences in the desert, it becomes very scary because at one point they are sold as slaves, and I hope such thing does not happen to these persons who are stranded. Imagine the video that trended last week of the driver of one of the buses stopping them in the middle of the desert because he has not been paid, allegedly. So such news is not heartwarming at all. We hope, for whatever reason, maybe the bus is faulty, driver has not been paid or whatever, such things should be fixed so that these persons would come home safely. Even at that, we're not even, I do not even support, if not for the kind of government we have. They have no business coming back to Nigeria through the road if government knows what it's actually doing. But unfortunately, government is now telling us that they even need an aircraft to leave them. So I hope whatever is the case, that they are brought home safely. And I also commend government for the money they are giving to the evacuees. I heard they
yes, 100,000 naira each,
25,000 naira for airtime and 1.5 gigabyte of data. That's what I heard is being lined up for them, and I hope this money, these things are given to them, and the returnees make proper use of it. It's just a way of course, it's not as if they're entitled to it, but it's government's way of saying welcome and then take this one and see what you can do for the time being. And I hope it goes.
So whoever it may be who is simply not satisfied and at home with the results so far of the election and the proposed structure and plan to inaugurate the president-elect and his vice and other governors, and be it what it may, let's do the right thing. Let's not see what's happening in Sudan. Let's not try to raise the bars of fears and people begin to, you'll be surprised that some may get to borrow money just to leave Nigeria in case. Because during the election time, some traveled out. Some came back, some traveled for fear of whatever that may be. So let's not send that information of fear so that our people don't get to start panicking before time.
I think that's what the military is even doing. because they keep
Hopefully.
that statement has been recurring. Even for the past 2 weeks, they've continued to make that. They are beginning to instill fear in the minds of Nigerians. This is not the first inauguration that would hold in Nigeria, but it also goes to show the outcome of the election. We've never had anybody, even in 2015, after Buhari was elected, they didn't make this kind of statement. If they have intelligence, then they should let Nigerians know. But keep making this statement as if there are persons somewhere who are planning to overtake Nigeria before May 29 or May 29.
They've talked about interim government before now.
Before now. So I don't think it's proper. They should downplay on their comments, because they're beginning to make Nigerians uncomfortable.
Apart from even making Nigerians uncomfortable, it is the fact that Nigerians are more aware. Decisions and then let us arrive at something before that date. So I don't see the reason why it should be the military coming out to tell us what should be and what should not be.
Year 24. All right, without wasting much time, let's also see what we have on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
Outburst on inauguration on ICON comes under fire. Senior lawyer knocks cleric for questioning president-elect swearing in. And DHQ, nothing will stop May 29. That's coming. And then Adamawa gets bail and others. President-elect promises judicial reform. House, Hockey's 1 trillion loan for federal government. We also got that 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified. And the Sudan evacuees, our experience harrowing. And we also have here at the base, NDDC seeks reps approval for 2.28 trillion 3-year budget estimates. Accept tribunal verdict, Gowon tells Atiku, Obi, others. It's true to move on, Gambari advises. It's time to move on, Gambari advises. Well, what do you have to say about this coming from Gowon saying that Atiku and Obi should accept the verdict of the tribunal? Arinze.
I would take that as a statement with the intention of dousing fears. I wouldn't say maybe because it's just right and appropriate, but in a bid not to set the nation on fire. Let's leave things to lie low.
Isn't that trying to twist the judiciary to make decision
whatever you
towards that direction?
I'm not at home with it, but in his own interest, as I perceive, let's not set the nation on fire. However, the truth is, this issue of the tribunal and whatever is dicey. I keep telling people I may not be a lawyer, but many lawyers' integrity is at stake. Many lawyers. If you play foul, for those of them that have international reputation, because the world is watching. There's a point you get to, you become very careful and sensitive to what you do, because it may become a knock-off or a platform to still keep thriving. For Gowon, I believe maybe he's just trying to douse fears and tension. That's what I believe.
But the statement, I do not think it's proper, because it paints Peter and Atiku as
being very agitative.
Who have the intention of causing chaos.
Exactly.
The judgment is not in their favor.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's not a good one.
In my own opinion, I'm seeing it as if there is a judgment that is already been
prepared.
Made. So it's more like telling us that whatever the outcome of this judgment is. Which verdict?
Nothing is out yet.
Nothing is out yet.
Them to
accept it. So it's like you already have a verdict.
A verdict.
You understand?
And it's not in their favor. So he's an elder statesman. So
I was expecting him to come up and say that the INEC and the government should even do what is right and make sure that
be mindful of the statements they make. Be very, very careful with the statements you make. He has just painted a picture now, and people will begin to question his own integrity and integrity of the judiciary. But come what may, every decision lies with the judiciary, and we look forward to what ever judgment that they will present. But that statement coming from, if I were him or if I were in the camp of Peter or Atiku, I would ask him to withdraw that statement because it's unbecoming.
But there are factors that are putting these men on check. Judiciary, I mean.
Yeah.
There are so much factors. I believe whoever does what is not supposed to be done would have himself to be questioned for it.
Even at that, we have seen on 3 different papers this morning, President-elect promises judicial reform. Isn't this a ploy to probably gain favor from the state judiciary that is on trial? Because as far as I know in Nigeria presently, on this tribunal, the judiciary is on trial.
The president-elect has never made any statement concerning the judiciary before now. So one will begin to ask, why is he making these promises now? Is it because he went to Port Harcourt? Doesn't he know that judiciary has there's corruption in the judiciary before now? So why is he making the promises now? So that's May 29 is pregnant, as some persons will say, and we don't also all eyes on May 29 and the outcome of a tribunal judgment. That is what everybody is looking forward to, and we only appeal to the judiciary to do the needful. Let them do the right thing. Make sure every evidences are admitted in court, and then they should know that they are carrying the hopes of millions of Nigerians who look forward to having. Of course, it doesn't matter who becomes or who gets the judgment in his favor at the end of the day, but let the right thing be done. That is all Nigerians are asking for.
It does matter who gets it, but the truth is that there won't be reform if there is no corruption in the system. So if the president-elect is assuring us of a reform, it means he is at home with the fact that certain vices have crept into our judicial system. So those vices should be dealt with decisively. Because before now, we also know that the sitting president also made promises in respect to the judiciary. So how come people come in and promise to effect changes, positive changes in the system of the judiciary, and yet there is a case?
It all depends what they term the positive and negative changes. So let's not dwell too much on that. All right, quickly, because of want of time, we are going to take the 2 papers together. That's the Guardian and Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Study route to JAXA, over $4 billion spent on overseas education in 8 years amid poor funding and neglect of public schools. That's the big story on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Fresh hurdles for air cargo as SACO, NACO raise charges by 100%. Tinubu promises to fight corruption, protect judges from vices. Reps ignore outrage. OK's Buhari's 23.7 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. Daily Trust, may Nigeria never experience war, Sudan returnees prey. Okay, and then we have the riders under it. We slept in the open for 8 days. About 3,000 Nigerians still stranded. More aircraft needed for evacuation. This is coming from the federal government. Trafficked Nigerian women in Iraq beg for evacuation. Wow. May 29, we are ready for troublemakers military. I was forced to marry 3 Boko Haram terrorists. 3. Oh, this is coming from a rescued Chibok girl. So they were passing her from one man to another. And then we still have, okay, we've talked about the private school teachers unqualified in the Southwest. Bride arrested for beating pregnant co-wife to coma over prayer mat. Okay. Sudan crisis. Hajj fare may rise above 3 million naira as airlines decline signing agreement. All right. These and many more are what are trending in the front pages of the Guardian and Daily Trust newspaper. So quickly, would you like to talk on the JAXA?
Yes, $4 billion for student visa alone. But if you ask this government, they will tell you they've done tremendously well in the education sector.
But sometimes I don't feel it's just about education. Some people are living in the gas of going there to do
they
their
find it as
masters
a
because they
means
just want to leave the
to leave,
country,
yeah.
not because they want to go and do their masters
It's all
or
part of
whatever.
it now. It's all part of it. Provided they are going through, we are here in Nigeria, and what we are told is that they are living through using student visa. Of course, there are other persons who go. They might even go there and then get the education they intended to go and get. But the important thing is that they are living, and you and I know that the number of persons who have left this country in the past 4 years or even in the past 8 years cannot be compared to what we have in previous administration. So it tells you the amount of rot that we have in the system. It tells you the amount of decay that every sector in Nigeria is fast deteriorating, especially the education sector. Even people around you, if you look around you, you discover that you have friends or relatives who are even leaving the country. So it's a big problem. $4 billion for student visa. It's not a good story to tell.
Oh wow. Okay.
Quickly, let's take the last paper we have for review this morning, and that's the Tribune. Our ordeal. Returnees from Sudan recount. We've seen that. APC crisis. Lukman writes Adamu, National Working Committee, and apologizes for embarrassing party leadership. All election petitions should be decided before inauguration of government. That's coming from Cardinal Onaiko. Gunmen 3 kill policemen, 3 policemen cut away with arms in Anambra State. And no cause for concern over May 29. And we also have here, I will support education until I have left planet Earth. That coming from Babalola.
Okay.
70% we've seen that. That's just much of what we have this morning on the Tribune. Quickly, because of time, let us, where we are talking about the debt in education here, and somebody here is coming to tell us that he will support education till he leaves this planet. That's coming from Afe Babalola. Quickly, let's wrap up on that. Arinze.
Education is something that we cannot undermine in whatever sense of it. We should be deliberate in supporting and promoting our education. So speaking of Afe Babalola, it's his personal interest. Maybe he has an NGA, a foundation that helps.
And he also has a higher institution.
Yes, that's true. So it could be in what? Maybe giving discount, ensuring that people get into school and study, ensuring that he has qualified lecturers, teacher, So it could come in various ways, and it's something to applaud him for. It's something to actually celebrate him for. It's a great feat, if I must confess.
Okay, and on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for joining us this morning on Press Review. Ejike Abata, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
And also Arinze Anewun, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Father.
Well, that's it on Press Review this morning. We want to say a very big thank you for being part of it. But right now, we are taking a short break, and when we come back, we still have all the things for you this morning. Stay with us.